them over. He also referred to the border with Canada as an artificially drawn line. Denmark and Canada are both close NATO allies of the US. Lebanon's parliament has elected the country's army chief as president, ending a power vacuum that has lasted more than 2 years. Joseph Aoun's candidacy was backed by several political parties as well as the United States, France and Saudi Arabia. A rival backed by the Hezbollah militia withdrew on Wednesday and endorsed the commander. The presidency is a mainly ceremonial role which is reserved for a Christian under a sectarian power sharing system. The election took place 6 weeks after Lebanon's government agreed to a ceasefire to end the devastating war between Israel and Hezbollah, which significantly weakened the Iran-backed Shia Muslim group. The Lebanese army was not involved in the conflict and has a key role under the ceasefire deal, which requires it to deploy soldiers in southern Lebanon as Israeli troops withdraw and to ensure Hezbollah ends its armed presence there by January 26. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has suggested he's open to running for another term, although his party has not made a formal decision on the upcoming 2025 elections. On Thursday, Ouattara said he's in good health and is eager to continue serving the country during a speech to diplomats in Abidjan, marking his clearest indication yet of a potential bid. The 83-year-old leader, who secured a controversial third term in 2020, has previously expressed a desire to step down, but hinted that his decision may depend on whether his longtime political rivals also retire from politics. In September last year, his party voiced support for another Ouattara candidacy, though an official announcement has not been made. Ivory Coast presidential election is scheduled for October. Back home in Nigeria, the federal government has approved a tariff increase for telecommunications operators in the country. The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, made this known at a stakeholders meeting with mobile network operators in Abuja. According to him, the government has been engaging with telecom operators to arrive at an acceptable rate. He assured Nigerians that the new tariffs would not be as high as the 100% increase requested by the operators. Meanwhile, human rights activist and politician Omoyele Sowore has criticized President Bola Tinubu's administration, accusing it of mismanaging Nigeria's resources and failing to address the country's infrastructural and economic challenges. Sowore pointed to the rising poverty levels and deteriorating infrastructure as evidence that the funds saved from the removal of fuel subsidies have not been invested in the country's development. Speaking during a television interview, Sowore expressed concern over Nigeria's worsening conditions. He described the situation as the worst he's seen in his lifetime, with poverty at unprecedented levels. He noted that there is total mismanagement of the country's resources and an increase in hunger and poverty levels across the nation. Let's take a listen to Sowore speaking on our sister station, Voice of the People Television, earlier today.
He has told you the story.
And that made him happy.
Yeah, that things were good before, but they are really bad now. But what he was trying to communicate was a lie, that people are adjusting and cutting their coat according to their size. But the question should go to him. You, as president, how come you didn't cut your own coat or the nation's coat according to your own size? Why was it that in the midst of this, your friend who has 4 Rolls Royces now riding, why did you upgrade your presidential jet from a Boeing business jet to an A340 jet, which was $150 million? Nobody knew where the money came from. And that tells you that these guys are a bunch of liars. And that tells the story of the two Nigeria that we live in, tale of two cities. They have been around Nigeria for a while now. I haven't seen this level of hardship.
You haven't seen
this level of hardship that I saw in last December and this January than I've seen in a long time. And I'm not exaggerating. I've seen people really struggling and suffering. And I mentioned it somewhere. For the first time that I traveled home on the 30th of December, the roads were practically free. If there was traffic, it was caused by police extortion, which was visible on Google Maps. People weren't traveling because they couldn't afford to travel. They couldn't afford to eat. They couldn't afford to celebrate. And they know it. Because what you must understand is that all the statistics about hunger, starvation, and suffering is available to government. They have it. Look at what they did in August. Because we were on this show a lot, on your channel a lot in August.
During the protest.
Yes. Look at the way they handled children. Charging children with treason for protesting is the highest level of aggression against people who are hungry. So what they did to those children, is it comparable to what they did to their government critics? And they've expanded the repression of free speech. So every day people are getting arrested for cybercrime. So what they did to Dele, Farotimi.
Oh yes, I was going to speak to that.
Abducted across state lines to Ekiti. And anybody who thinks that Dele was arrested because of Afewa Balola doesn't understand the way Nigerian works.
Really?
You're still listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, has said many Nigerians are no longer proud to identify themselves as citizens of the country. In a video seen online today, Igboho, who was spotted at an airport in the United Kingdom, said corruption, insecurity and a bad economy are the reasons for the lack of patriotism in the country. The separatists also stated that various ethnic nationalities should be allowed to go their separate ways if the country cannot function as a unified country. Igboho said Yoruba youths who have gained valuable knowledge and experience from traveling worldwide are eager to transform the Yoruba nation into a modern, prosperous society similar to that of Europe. Meanwhile, the federal government has debunked plans of hiring foreign machinery to help address the security challenges in the country, saying it has never considered these a viable option. The federal government also noted that it is not averse to collaboration with China in domesticating production of military equipment as a means of bridging gaps in that sector. According to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Toga, the move became necessary to avoid the unnecessary delays associated with importing such equipment from foreign countries. These were part of the discussions earlier during a joint press briefing between the Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Toga, and his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi, at the presidential villa in Abuja. China's Minister of Foreign Affairs is on an official visit to Nigeria, where he came to strengthen bilateral relations and perfect the railway construction loans extended to the country. Explaining the rationale for opposing foreign machinery, Nigeria's foreign minister said private military companies, no matter where they are coming from, are not the solution to tackling the country's security challenges. A chieftain of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Senator Shehu Sani, has knocked up politicians in the north for threatening to use the controversial tax reform bills against President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. In an interview with journalists, the former lawmaker asked the north to reorganize itself and see how the northerners who are in the president's government can contribute to its development. He pointed out that President Tinubu has given key institutions in his administration to northerners. He also pointed out that northerners refused to voice out under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari despite many failures. Now, according to Sani, northern elites refused to say to Buhari that they voted for him, but he failed. The former lawmaker said the former president appointed northerners into offices and they did not serve the interests of the north. He therefore urged northerners in President Tinubu's cabinet to join hands with the president to move the country forward rather than walking against him. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break and return with the news analysis segment. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Now joining me to discuss issues in the news this evening, I have Mr. Peter Anosike. He's a rare journalist with many years of experience as well as a political, social, national and international affairs analyst. Welcome to the World News at 6 and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's begin with the two interviews granted by Showore earlier in the day where he spoke about mismanagement of Nigeria's resources, palpable poverty in the country, and rising hunger levels all across the country, insecurity, food insecurity, and really all of the issues plaguing Nigeria at this moment. Earlier today on Matters, I was speaking with Esther Nwachukwu, and we talked about the issue of the SSS, saying that journalists should, instead of talking about things that would seem to heat up the polity, we should rather focus on things that would enhance Nigeria's unity, focus on what the government is doing well, rather than what it seems that they are not doing well, so that Nigerians, each time journalists come to talk about this on radio and TV, Nigerians will not be angry. But the question is, what is this administration doing well that we can, what are those good deeds of this administration that we can highlight?
Well, journalism has its own ethics, which is different from what the DSS are doing. So DSS cannot tell journalists how to do their work because it is not their business. Understand? It is not the business of DSS to tell journalists how to do their work. The issue is this: if you are not objective in your work as a journalist, then you are not a good journalist. Journalists are taught to call a spade a spade. When they see good, they report good. When they see bad, they report bad. They cannot be seen bad and be reporting good. That's not the job. Understand? So if the presidency, if the federal government want only good things to be reported about them, then they should try to be doing good. Because there's no way a journalist will see something that is going wrong and say that it is going right. So I feel that Nigerian journalists are doing the best that they can do. Even they are helping the government in a way. Because if people are reporting exactly what is happening in this country, it's going to be a war. That's why when many people died, understand, 10, 20, 30, they'll just say scores. Instead of giving the actual number, understand me? So journalists are helping government, but government don't want to help themselves. That's the truth.
All right. I want to look at this from another angle. Why should the DSS, even if you should have this kind of warning or advice coming to broadcast houses and to journalists, shouldn't it be coming from the Broadcast Commission? Shouldn't it be coming from the Union of Journalists and others talking about fostering unity in the country? Why should these be coming from the DSS? Last year, we saw cases of where different journalists, several different journalists were arrested for other different reasons. Is this another way, would you say, is this another way to gag the media so that one can talk and they'll say what you've just said does not foster unity and then you're picked up by the DSS?
Well, they are pushing Nigeria to be like North Korea and Russia. Pushing
Nigeria to be like North Korea? I want to be so far Russia. Away from how those countries are at the moment. No, don't we still have a semblance of that freedom of speech?
In North Korea and Russia, they only have state media which report only good things about government. But Nigeria is a free state. It cannot. We are practicing a democracy in Nigeria. So and that Freedom of Information Bill was signed into law in Nigeria, and we are to abide by it. The NCC has its own code, which print electronics media also abide
follows
by. So the DSS has no business telling journalists how to do.
But I don't just want to focus on what the DSS is saying, but on what Shawara is saying about mismanagement of resources and about rising poverty levels and hunger in the country. He talked about traveling to his village, and for the first time, there was no gridlock on the road, which is usually prevalent when people are traveling during the Yuletide period. But instead, the roads were free because a lot of people could not travel to celebrate the Yuletide with the people who lived in the rural areas.
Well, That's what he said is what everybody knows. Because Nigeria has never been this bad. There has never been a point in time where rice was sold at 100,000 naira in this country. There has never been a time when fuel was selling above 1,000 naira in this country. So this is the worst time in the history of Nigeria. This is the worst time in the history of Nigeria, and upon this, squandermania is going on. Wastefulness is going on. Insensitivity on the part of government is going on. So what Showore said is the truth and the whole truth.
All right. Showore is not the opposition voice who has been talking about the mismanagement of resources in this current administration, not just in this administration, but the one before it and even others before it. But then you do recall the issue that happened with Felix Moka and Peter Obi, where Felix Moka said Peter Obi crossed the line. Showore has granted about 2 interviews in the past 24 hours, actually. Do you expect that anyone will come out and tell him that he's crossing the line, especially since he's someone who even speaks more radically than other opposition voices?
Well, Felix Moka is hiding his face at this point in time. Understand me? So he is still suffering from the backlash of his reckless utterances. So I'm not expecting him that to say anything in the next 48 hours. But there's nothing anybody can take away from what Showore said, unless somebody who lives in denial. What Showore said is everywhere. It's what everybody is experiencing in the country.
That's Nigerians' reality at this point.
Except to those who are stealing money from government.
All right, let's talk about the increase in tariff by the Nigerian telcos. The federal government has just approved that increase. Telcos are asking for 100% increase, but the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, is saying it will not be up to 100%. I must let you know that recently, although it's been prevalent for a while, but the service from these service providers has not exactly been top-notch. We do understand that inflation has caused a hike in the prices of everything, and that they've not reviewed their prices for the past 5 years and more, and that they need to do this. But then a 40-50% increase, is that not too much? Especially seeing that Nigerians are also living the reality of this inflation. Why should Nigerians be buying the same thing they've been buying before at a 40 or 50% increase in the price with very, very minimal, abysmal service?
Well, for me, I don't really see that war that government has approved. Understand me? Telecom industry has been deregulated. Understand? Telecom industry has been deregulated. These are private businesses. So saying that government has approved, to me, is confusion. But
they did have a meeting with people from the federal government as the Minister of Communications, and they all came to an agreement. They're asking for a 100% increase, but the minister is saying it will not be up to that 100%. So they did have a meeting, and that's why I'm saying that the federal government approved that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't see any reason why federal government, unless if these telecom companies are now part of government companies.
So they're not supposed to consult with the government or consult with those who represent consumers before they go ahead and do this price hike?
This is private businesses. Understand? And we were told that the telecom sector has been deregulated as far back as 2002. Understand? If it's a Nitel, understand me, which is government owned, assuming it is still functioning, then government can do whatever, can increase, reduce, because it's government owned. These are private businesses, and which demand and supply should determine whether they are increasing or reducing.
But then demand, I would say demand keeps increasing, because every other day you have more Nigerians purchasing SIM cards and trying to get online, buying data and buying calls. Right now, the world is so digitalized that you almost cannot go a day without making a call or without using data. Right here, we mostly use that data. We mostly we take calls on WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp here. That requires data. We use this Meet to try to call people from outside the country. That requires data. So every other day you have people using these services. Why don't we even when they're having this meeting with the government, why not also talk about improved service delivery? So even if we have to pay more for it, at least we are getting value for our money.
I am still saying that these are private businesses, which doesn't need to go to government for permission. I'm telling you what must be. I'm telling you what must be. If not, those selling cows doesn't go to government before they increase price. Understand me? Or reduce price. So we should be mindful of what we are doing. Otherwise, it might affect us in the future.
All right. We have there is a group that identifies with the Labour Party that has come out to say that the ruling party, that is APC, is afraid of Peter Obi's rising influence ahead of 2027, and that is why it seems that they're trying to gag him through the debacle between him and Felix Morka. What's your take on that?
Well, Peter Obi is a force. What happened in 2023 was a shock to the Nigerian state, to the Nigerian establishment. And the condition in 2023 is still hasn't changed. Even it's now becoming worse. The vote in 2023, they saw Peter Obi as the person that represented their frustration. They saw Peter Obi as their hope. But the condition in 2025 is even worse than 2023, which means if nothing is done, the same thing might happen in 2027. But the issue is this: Peter Obi is a law-abiding citizen. So they can just make noise everywhere. There will be no reason to gag Peter Obi.
They can just make noise. The APC chairman, Ganduje, has come out to throw his weight behind Felix Morka, saying it was actually Peter Obi who took what Felix Morka said out of context, posted it on X, formerly called Twitter, and then which now incited his followers to go ahead and send over 400 threats, 200 of them which were death threats to Felix Morka.
What is the IQ of Ganduje? What is the IQ of Ganduje? What is his certificate?
To throw his weight behind his party member, the national publicity secretary of his party.
For him to know what...
Saying that the myriad of Nigerians who interpreted it the way Obi did are the ones who are wrong. Because he's saying what he meant by saying you've crossed the line is that Peter Obi speaks a lot of falsehood, and that he has coming to him whatever he gets means that anything people call him, he should take it because he lies too much.
He is a coward. He is a coward. If he's a man, he wouldn't have recanted on that statement.
But well, he didn't. He did say that he's standing on that statement, and that there was no threat in that statement.
That's why
he didn't mean it as a threat.
That's why he was trying to disconfigure what he had said. Understand? What you said was in black and white.
But if what you've said was misinterpreted according to you, and that's not what you mean, wouldn't you clear the air?
That's why I said that he is a coward. He is a coward. If he's a man, he will not have recanted.
All right. Just before we go, because of our time, and on insecurity, the federal government has said it has no plans to hire foreign machinery. This is according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Choga, while he was actually talking to the Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs earlier today at the presidential villa in Abuja. The Chinese Minister is the Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs is on an official visit to Nigeria. He came here to strengthen bilateral relations and also to perfect the loans for railway construction which were extended to the country by China. The ambassador is saying that private military companies, no matter where they're coming from, they're not the solution to tackling the country's security challenges. But then when you look at it, even though he feels that they may not be the solution or that they are foreign, they do not understand the terrain, But haven't we come to a point where we should be exploring other solutions to solving insecurity in the country if there really is political willingness, especially with the brazen attack of Boko Haram elements on a forward operating base in Damboa in Borno State? It's so crazy to me because this attack went on for 2 hours. Out of part of the people, they had photographers behind them taking pictures, and then they released this to the media. Isn't that a dare to the Nigerian army?
Well, they were taken by surprise. This thing happened very early in the morning, and they were complacent. Understand? Which is stronger on their part. So they were taken by surprise. But as for hiring foreign machineries, I don't think that they want to do that because they are sympathetic to these terrorists.
Who is sympathetic to these terrorists?
Northern elders are sympathetic to this.
But it's not the northern elders who will be combating this insecurity. If you insist that they are sympathetic to them,
it is their own children that will be killed. So this is where the sympathy comes from. Understand? Because if they hire foreign, understand?
The foreign machinery, yes.
It is their own children that will be killed.
You are saying that some northern elites have children who are part of these terrorist camp?
Wait, in 2014, Buhari said that Jonathan is trying to depopulate the voting population of the North. That Jonathan was trying to reduce the voting population of the North by fighting Boko Haram. Understand? Then Sheikh Gumi said that these are just hungry people, that they are hungry. What they need is food. El Rufai has spoke in their favor. So their sentiment. So they will not want people who have nothing with them to come in because it is their people. Because in the North, these terrorists are taken as just wayward people.
But wait, Mr. Peter Andusike, my grounds is, or what I'm trying to say is, it is not up to these northern elders to actually hire this foreign machinery. It's up to the federal government. All right. Will the federal government consult with them or consult with other people who are affected by insecurity before hiring these foreign machineries? The federal government, through the ambassador, is saying that they do not even see the need for foreign machineries because they do not understand the terror.
What is happening with the tax reform? Northern elders say that they don't want it. And that's why the governor say no. So whatever is happening, those people must be brought into no, because it's their people that the foreign machineries will kill, and they will not want it. Somebody somebody that's the chief of army staff has said that those terrorists have the potential of becoming presidents in Nigeria. That all they need to do is to drop their arms. So there are sympathy for them. So because of that, they will not want foreign mercenaries who have no emotional attachment to them that to come. So
hiring foreign machinery shows a willingness to actually end insecurity, and that is why they don't want to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because they are going to be brutal. Understand me? They are going to be brutal, which they don't want.
All right, then. Time is fast spent and we need to go. But thank you so much for joining me on the World News at 6. I do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. You have been listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, we'll take a look at the top stories again. You heard that Russia is keeping a close eye on Trump's claim to Greenland. The federal government approves telco's tariff increase. Shore accuses President Tinubu of mismanaging Nigeria's resources. And Sunday will hold calls for separation if Nigeria is not working. And that is a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned in the news bulletins, do send the mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good evening.